Okay, while we're letting that disc soak in some alcohol to get the orange flake shellac off of it, I've recovered the shank assembly from the pickle pot, and it's all cleaned up. Looks good. We can move on with our forming for this particular shank, and let's begin. I believe that was going to be a size 9, so let's lay it across the size 9 here and go ahead and bend that up. Well, this side, and this is what we wind up with. Looks like it bent a little more in the middle there, so let's see if we can tame that down a little. Let's roll it around here to the shiny side so we don't indent those markings from the size 9 there. And yeah, that looks much better. And we're just, should be a little bit over halfway. So yeah, we wound up right where we want to be, I believe. So let's go ahead and bend those, overbend those a little bit more, like so. Flip that over, size 9, and tease that in there a little more. Okay, so this is our assembly so far, and what I want to do now is actually put that on the shank, hang it out here a little bit, and take this ring, lay it in there, and there is just enough room there to actually make our loops going back this way and then coming across. So I think we're about in the right place to actually start making our loops. Let's go ahead and mark those up. I will come forward just a little bit past where the solder joint ends, where our bends caused it to stop. We'll come about 4 or 5 millimeters past that point. And that will be the beginning of our loops. Put that over, put it on size 9, and same thing, about 3 to 5 millimeters. It's probably closer to 5. Okay, happy with that. Now, something to check before we move on here, because I want to actually look at the amount of V that we've got each way. It needs to be even at this point. If we need to make any adjustments by edge setting or anything like that, we need to do that now. I can see that this side's got a little more bend in it than this side does. So we either need to take some of the edge set out of this one or put more edge set into this one. And I think in this case we need to actually take some of the edge set out of this side. So let's grab some pliers here. We'll grab that on edge and we'll tweak that just a little bit. That looks pretty good. Let's check this side. This side actually looks nice. This one needs a little bit more edge set on this side now. So let's bend that out a little bit. And that pretty much does it. You can see that our ends here are actually in line with each other this way. So they're actually looking like they're all bent to about the same amount. So that's a good start for this point. All right, let's go to our round chain making pliers here. These are 2 round ends, and we'll lay those across and we'll actually put those right on the mark. I want my loops to be about probably 2 millimeters on the inside, so we're going to move down here maybe 5 millimeters or so, and we'll make that our bend point. And we'll grab this end and start bending it around. And you want to kind of push it towards the outside there as you're bending. Okay, it's looking pretty good. And we'll grab that, and we can actually use a little help at this point. I'll grab my parallel pliers and I'm pulling at the same time I'm bending. And I think that's pretty much where I'm going to stop on that. Let's move over to the other side here now, and we'll actually bend this side. So let's grab it, start pulling it around, and kind of cheating it to the outside there a little bit. Let's grab the parallel pliers, and pull at the same time we're bending. And let's take a look at that. It needs a little bit more. So better to stop a little short and have to put some more in as to try to take some out. So let's try that. There we go. I think that's pretty close. You can see they're both parallel, and they're both bent to about the same amount. So I'm liking the looks of that. Now let's move over to this side. We'll have to bend those up a little bit to get them out of the way. We'll set up on our marks here, and the same thing, we'll just repeat that. Like so. Take our parallel pliers and get a good grip, and pull at the same time as we're bending. And I come a little bit more. There we go. That's pretty good. Alright, now let's start on this side. Set our round pliers around that and start bending it. Cheating it to the outside again. Our cheaters here. Same thing, pull at the same time you're twisting it around there. Let's see where that will go. Not bad. Okay. So let's see where we wound up with on our mandrel here. Begin to force that down. Go up here to size 9. And looks like we're going to be pretty close. We might have come in a little bit undersized. That's okay. Those in and actually pull those in just a little bit. Try to get those to actually size to a size 9, and we're going to wind up going a little bit smaller. I bent those a little too close to the shank there. I should have moved up a little farther. So let's cheat down here to a size 8 and see what that gets us. That's actually fairly good. Alright, so we'll go down here to a smaller size, and we'll overbend this, and then we can come back up on it. So let's move up to here, overbend those a little bit. Alright, it's looking good. Force that down. Thing here, and I need a little bit of help, so I'm going to go back, get my wooden dowel, and push right on the ends there. Pull this small end here, push down. There we go. Okay. Now let's see where we're at now. Push that up. Now get right up to a size 8, and we're pretty close. So, not horrible. You can always adjust if you're. This is not a good ring to try to make to a particular certain size, but you can always adjust it later by cutting the shank and adding a piece in to make it, you know, a particular size. So pretty happy with that. Let's take one more look at our loops here and see where we wound up at. Okay, this one is a little tighter than this one, and this one is a little tighter than this one. So we need to add a little bit of twist to this one. We'll go ahead and do that now. Do that, we're actually going to use our mandrel again. So we'll move it up here to the big end. And this one I needed to add a little bit too. So I'm actually going to hold it with my fingers, hold against this so it can't roll. And I'm actually going to pull a little bit, and pull a little more into that loop. Let's check them now. that's just about perfect. And this one we needed to do the other way. This loop needs to be a little bit smaller to be even with that one, so that they're all equal. So we'll flip that over. I'll grab that end, and same thing. I'll just give it a little pull and see how that looks. Oh, that's nice. Okay, let's check them this way. See how they're lined up this way. And they're a little bit out of kilter, just a tiny bit. So we'll take our awl here, slip that through, and we'll actually tune that. If you need to, you can hold these in. And actually, I think I will. Use my ring clamp here. I should get a good grip on that. Up here, and let's try this again. So this side needs to come up just a hair, and that's it. Looks good. Oh, this one's way out of whack, so let's bring this down a little. Bring that up, and that gets them even across the top here. I'm actually looking at the top, and now we'll go back and we'll look and we'll see if the loops are all even, and yes, they are. The ends, you can see they cross pretty much right here in the middle, so that tells us that we're even on both sides. This might come up just a little bit. Okay, pretty happy with that. I think we're good there. Retire the ring clamp, put the awl away. Clean up a little bit here, work area. And our next step is to try and edge set so that we form a basket where this can actually sit in. And as you see here, we're just to the point where this ring will just sit inside of those. So we've gotten about as close as we can and still allow room for this ring to slip down beneath that. If you notice on this particular ring, it's actually sitting right at the points of this ring is actually sitting right at the points of the loops. So we're gonna shoot for that same look here. Let's see what size we ended up with. I believe that's, yeah, right at 7.5, 8. If we need to, we can spread it out a little bit to make that work. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be more like a 7.5 or so. Okay. Now, for the edge setting part of it, this is a little tricky. We have to actually work on the mandrel, and we'll have to bend. We have these two on the outside, so we'll actually start with those. We'll bend those down, and then we'll try and bring those around as well. So that's going to take some mandrel work. In the meantime, let me check the progress of our shellac. It's soaking in here. Let's take it out and have a peek here. We need to scratch some of that off to actually get. And it's softening up quite a bit now. So. Okay, yeah, it's coming off. It's going to need a few more minutes in the alcohol. So we'll set that aside. And we'll continue on with edge setting. Getting ready for the basket here. Let's go ahead and set that in. And I'm going to bend. These are the inside ones, so we're going to start with the outsides. And we'll just bend those around. Like so. Okay. Looks pretty good. Liking that. And now for these, we'll actually just bend those right over the same way, not quite as much. You don't want to take them right down against the mandrel, but you want to be close. And start bending that one. Okay. So what we've got now is they're shaped this way, they're formed for the ring. Now they need to be edge set. That's a little different operation. So let's grab our, actually the parallel pliers are going to be too large, so let's grab these instead. And we'll grab these on edge. Let's get our bench pin out here so we've got a nice steady base to work off of. This is where you can pinch yourself, so be careful. Grab that ring, grab it on edge, and we'll grab it right down here. We're going to try to introduce some curve across this part here. So we're pulling out and bending in at the same time. Okay, we managed to introduce just a little bit of curve right here, so that's good. Now let's move over to the other side. This is the inside of it, and let's see, this will be the other way. So let me hold that this way, and we'll introduce some curve. Okay. And now we've managed to introduce a little bit of curve into that one as well. Now, at this point, we need to get these running ends out of our way because they're actually striking the loops here and here. So we'll cut those just short of the loops so they can actually bend inside of it. Like so. Okay, we'll go back to our mandrel here. Now we can actually push those down against the mandrel and get them shaped back into the ring shape that we're looking for. Alright, and now they're shaped again. On the inside ones, we've got them shaped for that, and we've got a little bit of a curve introduced for the edge setting. So now let's work on edge setting the outside pieces a little bit. We'll bring those over the top of the inside ones here, just push those down under. And we'll go back to the bench pen. Those with these are duckbill pliers. Grab these and work it from this side. Grab it right around in here. Oop. Let's get that under. We need to be over the top of the inside pieces. And grab that and start twisting. Introduce a little more edge set. And grab it in the middle. Try to introduce a little more edge setting back over in this side. So that's pretty close. It actually twisted up a little bit on me there, but that's alright. We'll tap it back down and make it flat again. So let's move over to this side. We'll actually grab it. Try to bend it across its edge. And same thing, it twisted a little bit. That's alright. We'll actually persuade that to get back into shape here on the mandrel. So we'll bring it back down here, pull it back down, and yeah, so if we hold these ends together a little bit, we can kind of introduce that curve back into it. And so we're starting to get a little bit of edge setting on both sets on each side now. That's looking pretty good. At this point, we'll cut these running ends off. They're in the way again, so let's lift those up enough to tell where to cut them so that they clear the ends of the loops here, so we can bend them inside of those loops there. So that would be there. And then this one would be here. So we're closer. It's just a process of working them back and forth until you finally get where you're trying to go. So at this point, we need to grab the inside pieces and introduce a little bit more curve. I can see I've got pretty good curve on this one, but I need more edge setting on this one. So let's bring that around here. I will actually force that down under there so I can just get it caught on the edges. And we'll start bending again. Introduce a little more edge set. You can see it starting to twist a little bit there. That's looking pretty good. Let's do a little more edge setting on the other side over here. And try not to slip off. That's when damage gets done to these. Your pliers will leave marks on them as they twist off. And that's pretty good. So here again, we've got more edge setting going on the inside ones. They look pretty good. Let's go back to our mandrel and try to flatten those back out a little bit. And here again, we'll just use our dowel to kind of hold things in place while we persuade those to lay down flat against the mandrel there. And that's pretty good. I'm liking the looks of that. So let's go back to our bench pin. And now we need to do a little more edge setting on the outside pieces. So let's set those in the bench pin here. And grab those right where we want them there. And just gently give it a little twist there. Okay, that one's got a nice edge set in it. Let's work on the other side now. And you just kind of push things out of the way at this point. It really doesn't matter. Things are still relatively annealed, so they'll be easily reworked again. Okay, that's what we've got so far. Let's see if we can't push those back down on the mandrel here again. Let's bring this up to size 7.5 and push those down. Okay, now we're actually looking pretty good. I'm liking the way the edge setting is looking there. If we put the piece against that, we can see that the curvature is starting to match the outside of the ring. So I'm thinking we're in pretty good shape there. Let's go ahead and bring this up. Lay our ring in the middle of it here. And let's move it in. Kind of give it a squeeze here and see where it's going to land on the mandrel, so that the ring here can actually lay down right between the loops, just almost touching the loops, but not quite. And that's a little too tight. I can't get it in there, so let's move up a little bit. And now we're getting back up closer to size 7.5. Maybe, yep, a little bit more. We'll go close 7 3/4. And it's still a little bit tight. Let's try 8. And if I squeeze that, that's going to be it right there. Okay, so we wound up with size 8. We were shooting for size 9, we wound up with a size 8. At least that's what it's looking like so far. So let's put this back on the mandrel, bring it up to a size 8, and push these back down, like so. And we'll start with the outside, and we're going to actually mark right in the middle. So holding this tight down to a size 8, I'm going to eyeball where the middle is. Looks like it's right there. Now when we turn this around, actually bring it back up to a size 8 again. And because this is the big side, I don't want to mark that side and then this side, because this side would end up being a little bit shorter than this side. We want them to be even, so we always bring it to size 8, and then we mark one side and then flip it around and do the other side. So looks like that's pretty close right there. Okay, now at this point you can snip off those outside prongs. That's good. And this one, cut it right here. Alright. Alright, that's looking pretty good. Cheat that back down a little bit. Notice the ends sticking up just a little bit. Like we'll bring it back down here to a smaller size. Cheat it around there. A little bit overbent. And yeah, now it looks good. Okay, now at this point, we're going to grab these, bend them up just a little bit, so that they actually lay it on top of the ones that we just previously cut. A little bit more on this one. Okay, now they're just slightly over the top of the ones we cut. So now we can bend them out a little bit. And to do that, we'll go back to the bench pin. Grab those here close to the loop. We're going to be trying to bend them at the loop and get them to come out a little ways. We'll overbend that a little bit because it's going to spring back. And now we've got it laying on top of that one. So let's do the same thing on this side. We'll actually grab it down here close to the loop and start bending out. And there we go. Now they're laying on top of each other. The ones that were inside are now laying on top of the ones that were outside. So let's take that back to the mandible. Bring that up to size 8. Check our fit again, because now you can still change the design at this point. And at this point, yeah, it looks like we can come down just a little bit. Actually get that ring to lay in there nicely. And it looks like more of a 7 3/4. Yeah, size 7 3/4 is going to be, yeah, just right. Okay, so let's mark this up. I'm going to hold it right over 7 3/4 right there, and I can see where these two overlap. I'm going to mark the ones on top here just a little bit long so we can actually have some metal to clean up and actually bring those up with files so that they get a nice fit. And let's make that one just a little bit long. Okay. Again, we'll go back to the clippers. And I'm going to turn them so these aren't truly flush cutters, but they do cut a little bit more flush on this backside than they do on the inside. So I'm going to turn it so that the backside is left when I cut it. And it's a little bit long, so I can cut right on the line. Alright, there's that one. And flip my pliers over here, the cutters. Bring those in. And okay, yep, didn't catch the bottom one. In, and let's see where we're at. It's pretty close. Okay. Undersize just a little bit. Again, we'll take our dowel and push down and try and persuade this end to come over just a little bit. And if we need to, we can actually grab our half round, flat round pliers here. And we can actually introduce a little bit of a curve in there to get those to line up a little bit more. This side will need to come up just a little bit. That's good. And they start to line up this way and this way. So it looks like this side needs a little bit more introduced here on this side. And that's looking pretty good. We're a little bit too much curve right there. Flip the pliers over and just give it a slight squeeze. Looks like we've got a little twist there we need to take out. So let's go ahead and do that. Get them to line up end to end so that there's no twist involved. And alright, I'm liking the looks of that.